Yeah, keep that out of there.
Just so everyone knows, we have started recording, so don't do anything you don't want broadcasted out. But it's on our YouTube page and our Facebook page. So.
Elena.
Yes.
This is Ronnie. For some reason, I can't connect by Teams. It just continues connecting, but it won't connect. So I'm gonna have to go on phone, I guess.
Are you on the phone right now?
I am.
Okay. I can try and resend you the link, and if anyone else is having that issue, feel free to email me, and I'll send a new link. That may work. I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready when you are. You're muted, Don. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. I'll be calling the meeting to order. As I was saying, today we have a touch of spring. The next few days looks like it's going to be in the 70s. So I'm going to officially say winter is over and welcome to the spring. And with that, we'll call the March Board of Delegates meeting to order. Want to remind everyone to be on mute if they are not speaking. And if you do want to speak, there's a chat box, or you can unmute yourself when you get ready to speak. All vote must be recorded by name and the community that you're from, according to the North Carolina General Statutes. And Renee will now be conducting a roll call to make sure everyone is that we have a quorum. So I'll turn the meeting over to Renee, and we'll be talking about Renee a lot later on.
Thank you, Chairman. So I was just saying to Pamela a little bit earlier, our board with delegates and alternates is now at upper 70s. Once we see Moore County and Vass, it'll be like right at 79. So please be patient as I go through the roll. It'll take a little bit. Wilma Laney.
Wilma Laney, present.
Joe Danley. Bob Smith.
Bob Smith, and you're present.
Brett Gant.
I'm here.
Audra Killingsworth. Mark Wilson.
Present.
Thank you. Mark Jackson. Jerry Medlin. Cassandra Stack. Tommy Bill. Donald Andrews.
Donald Andrews, present.
Is anyone on the call from Cameron, the town of Cameron? Randy Haven O'Donnell.
Carborough, present.
Dan Benio. He just called me and is unable to attend. Christopher Nance. Jennifer Robinson.
Jennifer Robinson's present.
Lori Bush.
Lori Bush, present.
Michael Parker. Jim Crawford.
Adams County, Jim Crawford, present.
Diana Hells. Jason Thompson. Deidreana Freeman. Javiera Caballero. Heidi Carter. Alam. Larry Smith. Jason Wunsch. Ken Marshburn.
Hi, Ken Marshburn Garner, present.
Tim Knupp. Kathleen Ferguson.
Kathleen Ferguson, Town of Hillsborough, present.
Matt Hughes. Ron McGrath,
You're already doing it. Mary
Sean McGrath, present for Holly Springs.
Aaron Wolf, Slaughter, Kennedy Henderson, Jessica Day,
Jessica Day, Town of Nightdale, present.
Latacious Morris.
Can you hear me? Did you hear
Yes.
Jessica Day? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm sorry. Latacious Morris, Kirk Smith,
Kirk Smith, Lee County, present.
Ariana LaValle, Jay Langston, Russell Creech, Satish Garamella, Steve Rao,
Steve Rao, Town of Morrisville here.
Sally Green,
Sally Green, Orange County, here.
Renee Price, Jeff Holt, Greg Baker, Kevin Drum, Jane Hogeman, Pamela Baldwin,
Pamela Baldwin, Town of Pittsboro, present.
Michael Fiacco, Donald Raines,
Donald Raines, Town of Princeton, present.
Corey Branch, Nikki Bradshaw, Ronnie Curran,
Ronnie Kern, Town of Roseville, present.
Michelle Medley, Michelle, are you still with us?
Sorry about that.
There you
Michelle
are.
Medley, Town of Roseville, present.
Rebecca Salmon, Chet Mann, Byron McAllister,
Byron McAllister, Selma, present.
Cheryl Oliver, Bill Hagus, Louis Fedley, Andy Moore, John Dunn, Carol Haney, Bill Pate, Sig Hutchinson,
Sig Hutchinson, Wake County. I'm here.
Susan Evans, Chad Sari,
Chad Sari, Wake Forest is here.
Vivian Jones, Phil Tarnasky, Joe Deloach, David McGowan,
David McGowan, Wilson's Mills, present.
Jim Uzzle, Larry Laux, Glenn York, okay, let's see. Did anyone come in since I started roll call? Bill, did you join us? Bill Hagus?
Yeah, he just joined the meeting, Renee. He might not be unmuted.
Yeah, you're muted, Bill. I see you there. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. And before we next is to review our agenda. After you reviewed your agenda, is there any changes anyone wants to make? If not, the agenda is approved with consent of the group. At this point, I'd like to introduce Latasha Morris, alternate delegate from the town of Nightdale. She's joining us. I think this is her first meeting. And if you'd like to make a comment.
I'm not sure if she's gotten on the call yet. She did indicate she planned to attend.
Okay, we'll when she gets, we'll give her time at the end. And I want to thank Kathleen Ferguson for chairing the January meeting. I was out of town, and I understand she did a great job. So thank you, Kathleen, and good training maybe for next year.
Well, I'm just glad to support you and glad to have you back.
Well, that's great. So the next is a very much an honor for our organization. We have had 6 counties of our 7 that have been members for many years, and we have an opportunity for Moore County to come back to our organization. And I'm going to turn it over to Lee because there's been a lot of work working with Moore County, and it's our pleasure to move them as a member shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening to all of our delegates, our alternate delegates, and our guests. As the chair said, I am very happy, thrilled even, to be able to talk to you for a moment about the requests of both Moore County and the town of Vass to become members of the Triangle J Council of Governments and to seat a delegate. As the chairman said, we have been working with Moore County for several years discussing membership. As the board knows, and as the board directed me when I was hired, it's weird to say 5.5 years ago, increasing our presence across the whole region was a top priority of the board. Getting members back into the organization was also a top priority of the board. And I can say that I and all the members of your staff at Triangle J take to heart that every local government that can be a member of Triangle J is important to us and is an equal partner in this organization. And whether it's a town the size of Vass or whether it's a county, or I know Commissioner Hutchinson is on, if it's a county as large as Wake, all members are welcome and an equal part of this organization. The other thing that I have to do is give a lot of credit to this board for your leadership and your support as we've pursued local governments that are not members of Triangle J. You all have been supportive. You all have talked to elected officials in those jurisdictions. And then the staff. Without the outstanding work of our staff showing what types of work can be done by being part of the regional organization, we would undoubtedly still be at 37 members. But tonight we are pleased to recommend our 45th and 46th member of the Triangle J Council of Governments. So it's my pleasure to recommend to the board that you, by roll call vote, accept the membership of Moore County and accept the membership of the town of Vass. All required documents have been presented to their governing boards and adopted, and they have chosen their elected officials that will sit on the board of delegates. So, Mr. Chair, I very happily make that recommendation to the board. Mr. Chair, I think you're muted.
We have an opportunity for the Moore County Board of Commissioners Chairman Frank Coos to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about Moore County. But Lee, looks like you're in Moore County. So.
Yeah, my background is very appropriate for the evening. I am seated right outside the Cradle, which is the par 3 course at Pinehurst. If there's light still after the meeting, maybe I'll get a hole in or two. Who knows?
Frank, are you available? Okay. If Frank is not available, Lee, do you want to go over any projects that you're doing in Moore County based on this relationship?
Sure, I'll be happy to. I'll highlight a few things. So we have been working with the towns of Pinehurst, Aberdeen, and Southern Pines, supporting a group that they call the Tri-Cities Group. And we help facilitate those communities getting together every couple months to talk about issues of interest. Those 3 communities are literally door to door. Their jurisdictions butt up right against each other, so they have a lot of common interests. And it's been a great opportunity for them to share and work on issues. We have, for Moore County specifically, we are right now providing them with a staff member to assist with some of their planning efforts because of a vacancy that they have. And they've actually asked us to extend that relationship into next budget year. We have supported the town of Carthage with some planning work. We've supported the town of Robbins with a grant application after the hurricanes. We also helped them find an interim manager. I'll talk about the town of Cameron in my comments at the end, but we're supporting the town of Cameron with quite a few things. We've already talked to the town of Vass about perhaps helping them with some HR work and maybe some code enforcement work. And if I'm missing any any other communities. Oh, the other thing that we do, we convene the managers in the region, in the county, every couple months just to talk. And we actually have good participation in that group. And so those are a few examples. And of course, we're down there with TARPO, or RPO, our Area Agency on Aging, has been working down there even when Moore County wasn't a member. Moore County was very supportive of our Area Agency on Aging and TARPO. So we've been involved in Moore County for forever. But we're just glad to be able to deepen the relationship with their membership. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Next, Al Mosley is the delegate, proposed delegate from the town of Vass. And if you wouldn't introduce yourself and a few comments about the town of Vass, which is in Moore County. Okay, if Al's not with us, we'll proceed. Lee has mentioned Vass in his prior comments. So both communities are, we are within 4 or 5 local governments of having every local government that's in Triangle J. And if there is a motion to be made, please state your name and your community so Renee can have it recorded. We need a motion to accept Moore County and Vass.
Hey, this is Steve.
This is Kathleen Ferguson, and I move to accept both Moore County and the town of Vass.
This is Ronnie Kern, town of Roseville. I second that motion.
The motion's been made and seconded. And so any further questions or comments? If none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chairman. So with this vote, I am only going to call the names of the people that responded as present. And at the end, if anyone else has joined us, you can let me know and I'll take your vote at that point. Wilma Laney.
Wilma Laney from the town of Aberdeen votes aye.
Bob Smith.
Renee Witch-Smith.
Bob Smith, and your aye.
Brett Gant.
Brett Gant, Town of Apex, a big I.
Mark Wilson. Mark, I believe you're muted. Just give me a thumbs up, Mark. Thank you.
You got it.
Donald Andrews.
Town of Broadway, Donald Andrews, enthusiastically yes for Moran Vass.
Thank you. Randy Haven O'Donnell.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, Carborough, an enthusiastic yes, yes.
Jennifer Robinson.
Jennifer Robinson from Cary. It's a yes.
Jim Crawford.
Crawford of Chatham County votes yes.
Ken Marshburn.
Yeah, hi, Ken Marshburn, Town of Garner says welcome and an enthusiastic yes.
Kathleen Ferguson.
Kathleen Ferguson, Town of Hillsborough, enthusiastic yes and welcome to Moore County and Town of Us.
Sean McGrath.
Sean McGrath, Town of Holly Springs, aye.
Jessica Day.
Jessica Day, Town of Nightdale, yes and welcome.
Kirk Smith.
Kirk Smith, Lee County, yes.
Steve Rao.
Enthusiastic yes.
Sally Green.
Sally Green, Orange County, aye.
Pamela Baldwin.
Pamela Baldwin, Town of Pittsburgh, yes, and welcome.
Donald Raines.
Yes and welcome.
Ronnie Curran.
Ronnie Kern, Town of Roseville, yes.
Byron McAllister.
Byron McAllister, Town of Selma, yes.
Bill Hagus.
Bill Hagus, Town of Siler City, yes.
Sig Hutchinson.
Sig Hutchinson, Wake County, yes.
Chad Sari.
Chad Sari votes yes. Wake Forest.
Wilson's Mills. Sorry, David McGowan.
It's all right. David McGowan, Wilson's Mills, aye.
Thank you. And just a note, in the case where there's the delegate and the alternate are both in attendance, I only ask for the vote from the delegate. So just a quick explanation there. And has anyone else joined the meeting? Any board members or alternates? Okay, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Well, we welcome these communities and we look forward to their participation in Triangle J and all the opportunities of our organization. And we look forward to visiting down in Moore County and visiting Lee down there. The next is My Future NC, closing the educational gap in North Carolina. And I saw this a presentation similar to this a couple months ago, and it is just fabulous what they're doing. And I look forward to the presentation. And Lindsay Whitson will be our coordinator of this presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good night or good evening, everyone on the board tonight. Yes, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest presenter, Jenny Korn. She's with My Future NC. She's the Director of Strategic Initiatives. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure Jenny will go into great detail with this, but My Future NC is a nonprofit organization working across sectors throughout the state to help close the educational attainment gap in North Carolina. Just a little background, Jenny and I first met a few months back at a leadership NC convening, and we quickly found that our interest in workforce development aligned, and that some of the goals that they are setting out to achieve directly align with TJCOG's comprehensive economic development strategy. So that's how our relationship blossomed, I guess. But with that being said, I just wanted to introduce Jenny, and Jenny, you're welcome to share your screen now. And we're excited and thankful to have you here tonight.
Great. I'll just do a quick sound check because y'all can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let me share my screen. All right, can you see that okay, Lindsay?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, you guys, oh, there you are. I was like, everybody went away. I hate that. Okay, so my name is Jenny Korn. Really appreciate the opportunity this evening, to present and talk about the work of My Future NC. We have been on the road, meaning not really doing this virtually, but we've done this presentation a lot. Oh, hey, Tom White, I see you sitting there. Good to see you. But to talk about this work, we are a brand new organization, just over a year old. So we're kind of the new kid on the block. You guys have been running the show at the local level, doing your leadership work at the local and the state level for many years. And we're trying to kind of fit in, find places where we can fit in, lift up the work that's going on all over the state to create a stronger and economically competitive and prosperous North Carolina with opportunities for all, in support of the new statewide attainment goal that 2 million North Carolinians between the ages of 25 to 44 will have completed a high quality credential or post-secondary degree by 2030. This work was begun in partnership mostly between the UNC system, when President Spellings was in the role of president of the university system, kind of connected with one of our big in-state private funders, MC Belk Pylon and the John M. Belk Endowment, and really brought together a pretty large commission. Y'all know North Carolina is really good at doing commissions, at getting representatives from all over the state to come to the table to talk about issues that are critical to the people of North Carolina. One of those has always been education in our state. And these two very strong leaders handpicked folks from around the state. We had everybody from people like Art Pope, who at the time had just stepped down from being the budget director under Governor McCrory, to a board chair from Ashboro City School District, who was a first-generation Hispanic father of in support of the public school system. So it really did represent different sectors, different regions across the state. That group worked together for 18 months, got input and feedback from national leaders who had done a lot of work on attainment, focused representatives from Lumina, from Georgetown, came down to North Carolina, talked about what was going on nationally. And then we also leveraged, at the time I was working in partnership with the My Future NC Commission. When I was at NC State, I worked at the Friday Institute, which is part of the College of Education over there. And our team held these listening sessions all over the state, collecting data, asking people about what was working at the local level as it related to attainment. What helped kids and adults find opportunities for education after high school to help them get a job with a family sustaining wage. So we were asking questions about what was working, what the challenges were, and then bringing that information back to the commission. After working together for that 18 months, we had these different subcommittees set up. Some were focused on pre-K, some were focused on K-12, the post-secondary experience in North Carolina and systems, and then the workforce. So we had representatives from the chamber and big business all over North Carolina. And they settled on this statewide goal after looking at all the different kind of input from national and then local perspectives. The bill, the state goal was taken. It was supported by both the governor and both the Senate and the House. And there was a bill passed in 2019, House Bill 664, that codified this new state attainment goal into law. And all of the work that this commission focused on really started with this idea of the North Carolina skills gap problem. You guys have heard this before about the projected growth of North Carolina occupations requiring a post-secondary credential or above is expected to outpace growth in occupations requiring only a high school degree. For so many years in North Carolina, at least my entire life growing up here, we've always thought of ourselves as an education state. And so seeing information like this about how only half of North Carolina employers are able to find hireable workers, citing lack of skills and overall education, that only 49% of North Carolinians have completed education above earning a quality credential or post-secondary degree. This was really kind of a call to action, these kind of data points. This is another set of data that our friends at the Department of Commerce were able to pull together for us about the value of a post-secondary education. When you're looking at number of years after graduation, the difference between a high school graduate, a high school diploma, and a bachelor's degree is almost 3 times the amount. And then also really looking also at some of the how those with more education are a little bit recession proof and looking at the data from the Great Recession. Another piece of data that we got as part of the commission was used, it's called from the National Student Clearinghouse. We did an 8-year longitudinal data poll, and for the very first time, we're able to track and see what happened to North Carolina students after they graduated from our public school system. So we used this kind of slide to illustrate what we found. There's a report called the Education Leaky Pipeline that's like a seminal publication as part of this. It was published in 2018, and I can put the link and share the link with that after the presentation. But what we found was that if you start with 100 North Carolina ninth graders, 13% of them do not complete high school on time. Another 29% graduate but do not transition to post-secondary programs within 12 months. Another 13% enroll but do not return for a second year. And then another 14% return but do not graduate within 6 years. So that means 69% of North Carolina ninth graders leaked out of the education pipeline, and that only 31% have earned a degree or credential within 6 years of graduating for high school. So again, this notion that even though we're an education state, we are not meeting the needs to educate all North Carolinians. So My Future NC, at the end of the commission, there was a big report submitted, a big report published. It's called A Call to Action. In partnership, it lays out kind of a shared vision for collective impact to achieve our statewide educational attainment goal. We have some core funders, the John M. Belk Endowment, Belk Foundation, Foundation for the Carolinas, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Duke Energy, Good Nights, and C.D. Spangler, that did not want to see this just be another report on a shelf. Not only are we really good at bringing commissions together, but writing really powerful reports. And so this group seed funded a nonprofit to carry the work forward. And not only were they willing to fund this work, but they were also willing to serve as part of our board of directors, along with every single top education sector leader, representatives from the Senate and the House, as well as business leaders from some of our biggest industries, from ag, from banking, from IT, as well as the chamber president, and then a few at-large members, including members of the Board of Governors. And so with a board of directors like this, with funders like we have, we've really had an opportunity and kind of jumped in the deep end of the pool in the past year. This is we started off with a strategic plan, and work that we're doing really drives across all of convening and engage in driving awareness about the importance of education after high school, aligning and coordinating state level efforts across the sectors. What I'm going to talk a little bit in more depth today is about catalyzing and supporting local education initiatives, local cross-sector collaboratives, advancing evidence-based practices and policies, and then measuring progress. So we do have a local approach for My Future NC. There's been kind of a constant motto of state-led but locally owned. So broken into the economic development regions that y'all are really familiar with. We have an intent to actually build staff to have a regional My Future NC representative in every one of the regions to support local education collaboratives, local cross-sector work. We're going to be building in partnership with the School of Government and Anita Brown Graham's team at NC Impact, My Future NC collaboratives over the next 2 years. Hopefully you guys have seen an opportunity in some of your counties and regions are considering applying. We have an application deadline, I think that's coming up next week, but it's the very first cohort. We're anticipating we'll get funding for additional cohorts like this, but to build a network, to build a community of practice across the state, to build a locally shared vision for cross-sector work, to define measures and priorities, using a shared framework, and then to begin to support with strategic planning and sharing best practices and promising practices across the state. Some of the work that I've been leading in partnership with Carolina Demography are local county profiles. Hopefully you guys have seen these. We have been presenting a lot on these. I'm going to pull up Durham counties and show you just as an example for how we can look at the data or the way that we presented the data, really a county level profile of data points from pre-K all the way through the workforce. The idea for these came after some strategic planning we did with partners from the state of Tennessee. They have been doing this cross-sector attainment work for about 12 years. And when we asked them, what is your biggest lesson learned? What is one of the most critical things we can do to get this work off the ground? They said, you guys really need to do these local profiles. However, it makes sense for the state of North Carolina. They were like 2 million by 2030 is so abstract that it's really hard for somebody at the local level to think about, well, what does that mean for me and my community? How do I fit into that conversation that's going on at the state level? So what we did is we pulled together, and I'm actually just gonna, hopefully I can transition over to, and I think I might need to reshare my screen. Yep, okay. So let's see here. All right, so hopefully you all can see my, my screen. It's at the My Future NC site. So if you go over to Dashboard, County and Data Indicators, and this is just myfuturenc.org, we have every county county's profile available. And if you just want to search the Durham County or whichever county that is most relevant to you, but I will note too that we also have a North Carolina profile summary. We have every bit of data that we put in these profiles is available for download. So if you are kind of you like getting into the data, or if you have staff that like kind of being able to look both at your county and how it compares to all the other counties, it's available in a zip file, and also a summary is available as a spreadsheet that basically has one row for every county and allows you to sort by every single indicator that we're going to talk about. I've shared some of these links with Lindsay, who I'm sure can help me push those out to everybody after the meeting. But I'll pull up Durham's just so you guys can see what these look like. And I'll zoom in some. So what we did is so up at the top, you see the peer county designation. What we did is we grouped all 100 counties in North Carolina into one of 4 county designation types based on population density. Based on work that I had done in the past, recognizing that not every single county that counties want to be compared to other counties that look like them. So for Durham is compared to the other, I think, 6 urban counties in the state. We have, I think, rural, suburban, rural, non-metro groupings. And so as you're looking down the profile at your county, you'll see instances where it says compared to peer counties, and it gives a comparison. So it's comparing you to your other peer counties. We did kind of at the top level, just an overview of the county with some demographics. including stuff like households with broadband, child poverty rate, population projections, and then a quick summary, text-based summary of this county's attainment percentage of population of 25 to 44-year-olds in Durham with varying levels of education. The next kind of row really focuses on that pre-K to middle school. We have achievement data here. We have NC pre-K enrollment. We have growth data for Durham County. The next level is really high school focused, but it's not just, we were selective about data that we knew was helping kids transition into college. So you have AP course participation, career and college promise programs. We have stuff about completing FAFSA, and then some of the CTE data points that the state has available. For post-secondary access and readiness, access and success, here in this row is where you're going to see the National Student Clearinghouse data points specific to Durham County, as well as some information from the community college system about the Prosperity Zone subregion that Durham is in. I will note we got some requests and are working on whether we would be able to roll up a profile for every one of the COGs so that you could look across your entire region and have the data aggregated up. That's probably something we'll do this summer when we update all the data points, as well as another way to aggregate, do a profile for every one of the workforce board regions. Just as an FYI, that was some feedback we got as we've been having these conversations. The next kind of row really focuses on labor market outcomes. And this is really partnership with that through Commerce was able to show like 80% of post-secondary degrees and credentials conferred by regional institutions are aligned with labor market needs in Durham County, in this region. And then we finally wanted these to be actionable, not just data for data's sake. So using that peer county comparison, we identified 3 opportunities for growth for Durham when compared to its peer counties where there was the largest gap between Durham and the other urban county averages. So here we see recommendations around math performance, reading performance, and that transition to post-secondary. Finally, on the back, we included a list of largest post-secondary institutions, so with undergraduate enrollments, just as a quick comparison of the folks that should be at the table in Durham County when you all are talking about helping and thinking about opportunities for students to find success after high school. We also include one promising practice. Part of our work this year is going to be building out like an online searchable database so you can look across and learn from other counties. And we're looking to collect more information because there's so much good work going on at the local level that we want each county to be able to learn from one another. And so with that, I'm going to transition quickly back over to the slide deck. I have just a couple final points for you guys before I can kind of open it up for questions. I got one more. Okay. All right, so what are our kind of big picture 2021 priorities? What sort of stuff are we working on this year? We'll be working on that phase 2, the updated versions of the data and county attainment profile. So those will be released in July, August timeframe. There's a little bit of concern, obviously, about some of the lack of data with COVID inside the education space. So we're looking to actually include additional data indicators from the workforce board, local workforce boards, as well as economic development. We will be rolling out these local attainment initiatives models. We have a big push on FAFSA, helping and increasing the number of students that complete FAFSA, the federal student aid application. We're going to be doing some new work, engaging and doing a listening tour with our HBCUs, working to identify and share evidence-based practice and policy briefs, and then also thinking about defining and supporting work around non-degree workforce credentials for the state of North Carolina. So how can you take action in partnership with My Future NC? One request that we have been going pretty big on is getting folks to endorse the goal. We've gotten endorsements from all 58 community colleges. We had the COGS, the Association of COGS endorse the goal. We've had businesses, the chambers, local chambers, lead chamber. So if this is something you're interested in, having the Triangle COG endorse the goal, and or if there are opportunities that you all want to partner even at a local level to do this, if there's businesses, we're looking for, because it's demonstrating awareness and partnership and kind of getting everybody behind this notion of an attainment goal. We really encourage you to use the county attainment profiles to start a local conversation about what's working at the local level and where there's opportunities to move the needle and maybe opportunities for growth. We'd really appreciate you guys sharing local promising practices that you know are working. Encourage high schools in your area to join the FAFSA challenge. We have a FAFSA challenge called First in FAFSA. And then also identifying a local My Future NC champion. Who is somebody that could be our one point of contact in your county, in your town, in your municipality, so that get them signed up for our newsletter. So as events, as opportunities for grants or partnerships with counties around the state come up, as we start being able to do events again, we'll have a person that we can connect through and communicate with your local community. Okay, so I know that was a lot of stuff, but I'm happy to stick around and answer questions if that makes sense and works for y'all, Lindsay.
Yeah, I think that was the plan. Does anyone, I see someone's raising their hand.
Yeah, you have a few hands and some chat box stuff.
Oh, good.
Chat there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing the hand. Can you call on people, Elena?
Yep, so the first hand was Michelle Medley, so if you want to go first, and then we can go based on what's in the chat box after that. Michelle?
You're muted, Michelle. Oh, there's.
Oh, you just muted yourself again.
Okay, so wait, I didn't raise my hand. If I did it by accident. I do apologize.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Wonder you looked at it. That's totally fine. Steve, you have a comment and question?
Yeah, this has been an excellent presentation. And I guess my first comment is I would just recommend a book for everybody to read called Industries of the Future by Alec Ross. He's from my home state of West Virginia. And it's quite fascinating, how the book basically says that the technology is accelerating at such a fast pace that the amount of jobs being created, it's just so challenging to create these jobs. So even in the sector that I'm in, artificial intelligence and robotics and all of these things are changing so fast. So I guess, you talked about the community colleges. Are apprenticeships also a way? I recently heard on WRAL they were doing something about the Wake Tech apprenticeships, and having more apprenticeships available even for these high school kids, so they can get the skills that they need, because the skill is changing so fast. I mean, from a point where it's almost like every 6 months a new technology is coming out that's requiring completely new skills. So how do we keep up?
No, that's a great question. And there's actually, and I've just put a link in the chat, there's an organization called Apprenticeship NC that's housed at the community college system. They're one of our partners. We're trying to elevate that data about which counties, like how are students, how are schools, how are community colleges partnering with business to provide opportunities for apprenticeships. Absolutely a critical part of this work-based learning sort of opportunities and framework, and doing it systematically. They actually have defined a high quality apprenticeship. And so that certainly is a critical element. And the other part that we get a lot of questions about is this idea. So you guys are not just talking about post-secondary degrees. And the answer is no, that there's lots of opportunity for folks with non-degree credentials. And so that's part of this work also.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to read one comment in the chat box for you, and then Sally, if you want to expand on it, feel free to jump in. Sally Green from Orange County said, FAFSA is such a difficult process, although I understand it is a little easier now. Is there any prospect at the federal level of making it even simpler? Seems like
answer, yep, no, that's absolutely accurate. I don't know how many of you, I have not had the pleasure of filling it out yet. I only have an 11-year-old, but no, they actually did simplify it. Lamar, who's the senator from Tennessee, Lamar Alexander, that was like his signature piece of legislation before he retired. He simplified FAFSA, reducing it from like, won't get this exactly right, but from like 138 questions to like 30 questions. So, and, you know, and so that won't get rolled out until I think it's next year. And so, but I really do encourage you, if that's something that you're passionate about, or if you've struggled with, My Future NC, we hired 2 staff that have been doing such good work in partnership with the North Carolina Student Education Assistance Authority and CFNC to help students, especially during the pandemic. This First in FAFSA campaign, they have been holding virtual town halls and getting buses, you know what I mean? Like, they have just been going after this to really try to help, because we know that students that could benefit most from FAFSA, our highest need students, are exactly the ones that would potentially struggle the most with filling it out. And that's one of the links that I think I shared with Lindsay to send out after, is the link directly to the First in FAFSA campaign. I might be able to pull it up while we're talking.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And we're going to send out all of Jenny's links that she provided in the after action report as well. Jim, do you have a comment? Jim Crawford?
Yes. I'm also on the Board of Trustees with Central Carolina Community College, and we have something called the Central Carolina Promise, where each of the counties will pay tuition for free for any students who have graduated to continue their education. And that covers all degree programs and any kind of certification program. But what it does require is a commitment on the student while they're still in high school to take 12 credit hours and establish a relationship with the community college, and also filling out of the FAFSA. Mm-hmm. And we implemented it 2 years ago, and so far we've had over 300 students successfully matriculate at the community college from Chatham alone. I don't know the statistics offhand for the other 2 counties, but we're finding that for Chatham, we have a high representation of Latinos who historically are not on the regular track to professional or advanced post-secondary degrees. So we're very pleased with what we've established, and we've spent less than $200,000 a year to cover the tuition cost for these students.
That is wonderful. That is a model that we're looking at. The state of Tennessee did a statewide promise program as part of their kickoff, but exactly what you're talking about at the local level, but they funded it. Basically, they got their legislature and governor to commit to doing that statewide, kind of that last dollar, though. So you have to fill out FAFSA first. You have to do all the application to statewide, for state needs-based aid. So we're actually doing some analysis. There's 18 promise programs around the state, local ones. And one of our partners is doing exactly what you're talking about, trying to tell that story and find out what's going on, what's the cost, looking at those 18, so we can begin to think about what those costs, what potentially could be those costs at the state level, if maybe not this session, but the next long session, if we want to make a pitch for that, to be able to have those very kind of concrete, very explicit examples from the state of North Carolina. I mean, as you guys know, that's great. They did that in Tennessee, but what does that look like here? If we want to talk to our legislature. So really applaud you for doing that. I had the pleasure of being down at Central Carolina Community College, and got to, not too long ago, actually, we had a visit there, and the work that they're doing is just, it's amazing, how they're meeting the needs of their community.
All right, so one more question from the chat. It looks like Sean McGrath from Holly Springs has a question about trade school. Sean.
Eventually, I'll get my screen to work. There we go. Sorry, I apologize for the delay. I guess I need to go back to trade school for WebEx here, or for Teams. You know, and that's kind of the genesis of that question. Thanks for the information. It's great, and I logged on to get the resources for Wake County just so I can see what's in our area here. And you know, part of our big news here recently in Holly Springs is, you know, a large corporation moving here because of the highly skilled and educated workforce that's available in this area. But when I look at that, that's not across the board. And I look at my own two daughters, and yeah, I have done the FAFSA for them, and I can't say that this last year was much easier. It's still not an easy form to go through, and it still takes some time to do that. I guess what my question more is how are we doing things that help with? It's great to have aspirational programs, and that's awesome that we do this to try and have folks aspire to that. But I kind of try and merge that with the inspirational programs, which is how do we inspire our growing youth to the correct path, if you will, not to one that's going to laden them with all kinds of college debt that may not lead to a good job. And I look at potentially the difference, and I'm very happy that, you know, my daughter, you know, we put her through college, and she's a special education teacher now, doing great things in the special ed degree, in the special ed world. But I also look at one of our good friends who their son didn't succeed very well the first year in college and decided to move on to a trade school. And he's now making 3 times what my daughter does as a special education teacher as a welder. So, you know, he's making 6 figures as a welder in his, you know, second year of welding, where that's, you know, that was the inspiration that was passed to him was how do we get that? How do we find the right fit for students, and how do we have programs and merge what your program is to make sure that we're funneling students in the correct direction, so that they don't waste a bunch of time and we're chasing numbers that may not be as relevant as we'd like them to be. But again, awesome work with what we're doing here, but that's always a concern I have.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I just put one more link in the chat that I had not shared with Lindsay earlier. And I'm sure some of you on the call are familiar with this, the nccareers.org work. I really feel like that this is one of the best chances or best examples. It's this cross-sector partnership that is intended to help kids do exactly what you're talking, not just kids. Like, so you fill out this like interest finder, and it's like a valid, reliable survey, and you're like, oh, I'm really good with my hands. I like being outside. And then it says to do those things you're really good at. Here's a couple of types of kind of careers that you might consider. And then it does this cool thing where it's like within 50 miles, the following programs allow you, and they cost this much. So it includes the community college system as one of the partners with this. So it's fed in all their kind of program data, as well as Duke University, as well as the UNC system. So it'll be like, okay, to go to Duke, it's going to cost you, I don't even know what Duke costs, $150,000. I made that up. I don't know. I would never go to Duke. To go to community college, it'll cost you, it's $1,500 a semester. You can get done in, you know, this amount of time. And when you get out, this is your starting salary. And you know what I mean? So it gives people in like a one-stop shop. And that's not the only answer. I think we have to have a conversation, kind of what you're talking about at home, about trade school is what can help your kid earn a 6-figure salary. You know, so there's like a communications conversation, but the state just released this. It's been let out of commerce, like in the middle of the pandemic, they updated this. But I really do. When I looked at this, I was like, and they're still open and really interested in ways to improve it. Like somehow I managed to get on the subcommittee that is about new content for this. And I have a lot of ideas for them, but I just think it's a really cool example of North Carolina giving the information to parents, to teachers, to kids, to students, to adults looking for a career change and letting them make the decision. So.
Thanks again, Jenny, for being here tonight. And as Elena said, we'll send out all of the resources that you had forwarded to me pre this meeting, as well as the items in the chat. But I just also wanted to say I'm looking forward to the data that you will be aggregating on the COG level. I think that'll be very helpful for our region.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I definitely second the need for that. So thank you.
Okay, that's great. No, I'll give that feedback back to Becky, but I really appreciate the time. Thank y'all so much. And just, send me an email if there's anything that we can do to connect more deeply. And Tom, I actually need to meet with you about something. So I'll reach out on that about a potential partnership opportunity. Okay, bye y'all.
If there's no more questions, thank you, Lindsay and Jenny, for the presentation. And I'm sure there's more follow-up. That's a great presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And the next item on our business is we're honoring one of our own. Jennifer Robinson is now going to be the Senior Vice President for the National Association of Regional Councils. And she is a member of our Board of Delegates. But she's held every office in Triangle J, as well as representing Cary Easttown Board. She is also president of the Carolina League of Municipalities. And Elena's got a lot more comments to add, so I'll turn it over to Elena.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, I'll say a few words. I think you actually said some of what I was going to say, so thank you. And then I'll let Lee speak if he wants to, and then Jennifer. For those of you who don't know NARC, the National Association of Regional Councils is the COG's, obviously, national organization. And so it works regularly to provide resources to the COG, to work with the federal government and legislators up there on regional challenges and opportunities. And so we're very excited and pleased and proud of Jennifer for being elected Senior Vice President for the coming year. So it's very exciting. It's a great recognition of her leadership. And so we're really happy to have her representing our region at the national level.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add, Lee?
Yeah, just to echo what the chair and what Elena said, and I've gotten to attend some of the NARC meetings and hear from other executive directors and other elected officials that are on the board at how much they respect Jennifer, how much they appreciate her involvement. And so it's not a surprise that she was asked to serve in that capacity. And it speaks, obviously very highly for Jennifer, but it also is a great opportunity for us as Triangle J to be involved in NARC in a leadership capability and way. And so we appreciate, we're ready to support her as she assumes that role. And from the staff, just wanted to say congratulations.
Jennifer.
Thank you so much, everybody. Go ahead, Don.
No, I was just going to say it's your time.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys acknowledging this, and I'm humbled by your words. NARC is a great organization. I first learned about it when they decided to do their conference here in Raleigh about 5.5 years ago, right when Lee had just come on as our new executive director. And I found that their conference in Raleigh was extremely informative. And since then, I joined the board and I've attended several of their conferences. And I would really encourage all of you to use NARC as a resource. They put out several bulletins every week on different topics that impact us. They keep us abreast of what's going on at the federal level that really has great influence over the way that we govern our cities and our counties. So it's very useful. Their conference will be virtual this summer, as many conferences are. And I will tell you, I've attended lots and lots of virtual conferences this year. And NARC does a phenomenal job at putting together content that is worth listening to. A lot of times it's hard to go to these conferences and stay alert as you're going from one virtual meeting to the next. But NARC is very worthwhile, and it is an honor to be able to participate in that organization. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And your leadership has made our organization strong in Town of Cary and all the associations that you work with. So thank you for your leadership. Next on our agenda is recognizing Renee Boyet for her upcoming retirement. And I have been with Triangle J many years, and Renee's always been a friend. And I'll turn it over to Lee, who has this part of the program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is bittersweet. And I wanted to say a few things. And then with the chair's permission, I'd like to read a resolution that I would ask the board to adopt as part of your consent agenda. And then certainly would open it up to any comments from anybody on the call. But when I came to the COG 5.5 years ago, it was evident to me very quickly sort of who the heart of the COG was, and that was Renee. Of course, Renee is very talented at doing the day-to-day work that is part of her role, whether that was working on member service issues or supporting the board or administrative issues or the foreign trade zone. But really more importantly, and what was hard to really be able to measure in an objective way, was the impact and the role that she had in bringing members together. Because everywhere you went, folks knew Renee. Right. You talk to an elected official. How's Renee doing? You talk to a manager. How's Renee doing? So Renee has been a very integral part of the COG for, like the resolution says, close to 25 years. And a large part of the success of Triangle J is credit to Renee's hard work and dedication. And I think that's an important word, dedication. I haven't found anybody more passionate about serving members and doing good work than Renee Boyet. And so I say it's bittersweet because, obviously when this time comes, first and foremost, you're happy for the individual that they have health and happiness and a family and things to look forward to. And, although we all love our jobs, it is a job, right? And I think more than ever this last year, we've all been reminded that there are a lot more important things in life than just the 9 to 5, family and friends and health and, the connections you make over the years are really what's going to carry you forward into next phases of life. And Renee's done that well and should be very proud of the work. And so we're very happy for her personally, but we're going to miss her. It's going to be hard to fill her role and what she means to the COG. So with the chair's permission, I'd like to read a resolution. And then, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you for anybody that may want to make comments. So we'd ask the board to adopt the resolution in recognition of Renee Boyet and her 24 years of service to Triangle J Council of Governments. Whereas Renee Boyet began her career with Triangle J Council of Governments as the Member Services Officer in 1996, and after almost 25 years will be retiring on March 31st, 2021. And whereas Ms. Boyet has been a committed and dedicated public servant and has worked tirelessly to support the well-being of the region and member governments through her role as Member Services Director and Clerk to the Board. And whereas Ms. Boyet has been involved in launching and managing many key initiatives in the organization and strengthening service offerings through her ability to interact with the public, elected officials and staff, and are focused on details. And whereas Ms. Boyet has served as the Foreign Trade Zone 93 administrator, and enabled the program to grow in geographic scope and participating companies through her devotion to the program and its goal of increasing international trade in the region. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Triangle J Council of Governments Board of Delegates, on behalf of a grateful region, expresses its appreciation to Renee Boyet for her longstanding dedication to the organization and the region throughout her career, adopted and approved this 24th day of March 2021, signed by the chairman, Don Raines, and very proudly attested by myself. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Lee. And at this time, the floor is open to make comments about Renee, her dedication to Triangle J. I'll lead off and say that I've been with Triangle J for at least 18 years. Renee's always been my contact, and she's always prompt and dedicated to work, and I will truly miss her. And I know she'll be in the Raleigh area, but I might see her in the Asheville area occasionally. So, but thank you, Renee, for your services, and you will be missed. And I know that, Elena, I know that you probably can do the chat better than I can. So I know a few hands are raised. So
yeah, definitely. Kathleen, her hand is up next, so she can. Kathleen, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, I am just so grateful and thankful for your service, Renee. I mean, from day one, you went just over the top to ensure that I had the information I needed. You made yourself accessible. What you've done with the foreign trade zone is nothing short of amazing. You are the face of FTZ in so many different areas. And while I'm excited for you on next phase, I am going to miss you, and this region will miss you. And I just thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Steve, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I mean, I know probably the feeling is mutual, but I just want to thank Renee so much for always being so helpful to me in the years I've been on the board and an alternate. I've really missed seeing your smile and your pleasant personality in person. And I just want to thank you for always being there to help me along the way. And I really look forward to hope to see you again, and wish you all the best in your retirement. But you're a class act, and you exemplify professional excellence. And I just want to thank you so much as a friend.
Thank you.
Can I jump in? This is Ken Marshburn.
Go ahead, Ken.
Thank you. Renee, of the many attributes you have, the one that sort of stands out to me is patience. I remember as I first became, I think, an alternate and then eventually a delegate, you would send out notices of when meetings were to occur. And I usually tried to be prompt in responding, saying, yes, I will attend. But then sometimes reminder follow-ups on that would be sent. And I think on more than one occasion, I would again send a notice saying, please count me in. And you would patiently inform me that I'd already done that, and that, I was properly registered. So it just stands out in my mind as a person myself, who I used to think I was a very patient person, but over the years I've learned that patience is a virtue that you really have to work on. And so it's one that I greatly admire, and one that I've seen you exemplify, certainly with me and with others on many occasions. You'll be greatly missed. Appreciate your good spirit and the very good work that you've done. You're a true personable individual, and certainly a true professional. God bless you as you enter into your years of retirement. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Can I jump in? Yes,
sure.
This is Pamela Fulton. So I'd just like to say, Renee, I think you are one of the most important assets at Triangle J Council of Governments. From day one, when I first came in 2005, I remember your welcoming smile, your kindness, your consideration. If there were any questions that I had, you were more than happy to answer those. And again, I certainly do appreciate all that you've done for Triangle J, as well as the foreign trade zone. And I hope to see you soon. And congratulations in your retirement. And keep up the good work no matter what you do and where you go. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Renee, there may be somebody else to speak, but it's your turn.
Thank you. You guys are making me cry. And I'm supposed to do a presentation next. I don't know how that's going to work. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. When I emailed you guys a few weeks ago to let you know that I was planning to retire, I got so many messages back from you all, and I really do appreciate it. And you will be getting a response from me once I'm able to sit down and do that without crying, I guess. But I just want to say thank you for all your kind words, your messages, your emails. And over my years at Triangle J, I have worked in a lot of different capacities, but the one thing that's been constant is always working with the Board of Delegates. And I have truly enjoyed that. And I appreciate so much everything you do for your communities and for our region as a whole. You know, it's hard work and sometimes it's thankless for you guys. I know that, but I just want you all to know that you are appreciated by Triangle J and by our staff here. And I really appreciate the relationships and friendships that I've made over the years. I'm sorry, I just keep doing this. And it's, you know, it's amazing. I feel like I could walk into any town in our region and, you know, see a friend, which is great. You know, I love that I can do that, and I will be doing that because I have many friendships in all of our counties and in many of our communities. So you'll probably see me around still. But just thank you for everything.
Thank you. And I
So
think
I just
Mark,
wanted, yeah.
Mark has got his hand raised.
Yeah, I think I'm muted.
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Well, Renee, I wanted to tell you, I've appreciated your friendship ever since I walked in the door, and echoing Pamela Baldwin's statement, you've had a friendly smile. You made me feel at home. Your job is just beginning. I've retired 2 times, and you're going to have to look for more time. It just, it's amazing what you get involved in when you think you have retired.
I did fail to mention that I will be back May 3rd and work for about 4 months with the Ftc program. So I'm not totally gone yet. I'm just going to work part-time for about 4 months.
Thank you, Renee. And you do have a presentation. So you still got work to do. So if there's not any more comments, we'll start the next part of our agenda, which is the presentation of the Research Triangle Area Foreign Trade Zone annual report. And I'll turn it over to Renee and Tom White.
Thank you. Elena, are you going to drive the PowerPoint, or do you want me to click through?
I can do it, and you can just let me know whenever you're ready to go to the next.
Okay.
I'll be your little assistant.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm not going to introduce myself after that. I am going to introduce Tom White. Tom White doesn't need an introduction. Everybody I think in Region J knows Tom White. I can't go anywhere with him or be in a meeting with him like Jenny did earlier. Oh, I see Tom White. I know him. But Tom is our FTZ number 93 board chair, and he is going to help me make this presentation tonight. And what we plan to do is give you an update. Elena, yeah, you got it, first slide. We're just going to give you an update on the FTZ program. I'm going to, normally this would just be an update for the calendar year 2020, but since we have the pandemic, we did not do a presentation for the board in this time last year. So we are going to include some information from 2019 as well, just to include some additional information. Next slide. So for the benefit of those of you that haven't heard me talk about the Foreign Trade Zone program, I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the program. And it began in 1934 as part of the New Deal. And the purpose of the program is to keep jobs in the U.S. and to increase the competitiveness of the businesses operating in the U.S. So one of the ways the program accomplishes this is by leveling the playing field for domestic businesses with those that are doing business that are bringing products into the U.S. from abroad. Using FTZ benefits, domestic businesses are able to potentially save duties and tariff benefits and pay the same rates that their competitors from abroad are paying. The U.S. FTZ board is overseen by, the U.S. FTZ program is overseen by the U.S. FTZ board, which is a two-person board. It's the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, who serves as the chair, and the U.S. Treasury Secretary is the other member. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is a big part of the program, and they do serve as advisors to the U.S. FTZ board. But the day-to-day management falls to the U.S. FTZ board staff, which is a staff of maybe a dozen or so that oversees the program for the entire country. It's a small staff, but they work really hard and they do a great job. So today, there are over 250 zone programs in the U.S. So I have 250 we have 250 counterpart programs across the country. Not all are active, not all are as engaged as our zone program has been, but there are 250 or more than 250 programs in the United States. And so everybody asks about the J and Triangle J. Another question is, what does the FTZ 93? What does the 93 mean? So that just means that we were the 93rd zone program that was approved by the U.S. Foreign Trade Zone Board. So next slide, please. Lots of, I can't see your slides. I'm sorry. Let me change my preview. There we go. So question everybody will ask is, what is the Foreign Trade Zone site? So I don't want to get really technical, but this is the definition. It's a designated U.S. location offering companies special procedures to help encourage U.S. activity in competition with their foreign alternatives by allowing delayed or reduced duty payments on foreign merchandise as well as other savings. So it's an area inside the United States. It's designated as being outside of customs territory for the purpose of duty and tariff collection. Items, finished products or components can be imported into the zone duty-free. And then when the product leaves the zone, the duty rate is determined by U.S. Customs. Next slide. So to tell you a little bit about our zone program. We are called the Research Triangle Area Foreign Trade Zone, known well by FTZ number 93. So either name works. As I mentioned, Triangle J received the Grant of Authority in 1983, and the Grant of Authority gives us permission to operate the zone program for our area. In 2012, we submitted an application to reorganize our zone program under ASF, which is a alternative site management framework, which allows us to designate our service area. So with the expansion, or with the reorganization, we expanded our service area. We've had a couple of additional expansions since then, one approved in 2015, one in 2016. So our service area currently includes 15 counties. So in addition to the 7 counties in Triangle J, we serve the counties in the Carter COG, and those are Person, Franklin, Vance, Granville, and Warren. And then we also serve Sampson, Harnett, and Wilson, and they round out the group of 15. So the nice Carolina blue in the center of the state there is what our service area looks like. And you can see Wilson County kind of sticking out on the east. It's striped, it's part blue, it's part green. That's because it's in the service area of our zone, but it's also in the service area of zone 214 down to our east. The FTZ, it's okay. The FTZ is overseen by our Rates, Tariff, and Legal Review Board and the Triangle J Board of Delegates. So both of those boards have to approve any businesses or groups that make application to operate a zone site. So I'm going to turn this one to Tom.
Renee, thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a note of tribute to Renee Boyet, individually and collectively from our board. She is the quintessential public servant and exemplifies an aphorism that says that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And also esse quam videre, to be rather than to seem. Renee Boyet just exemplifies those values to the nth degree. So all of our lives on this Foreign Trade Zone board are better for having been touched by Renee Boyet. So let me start with that and then go into some detail about the composition of a board that is fantastic. We had 100% attendance at our last meeting in January. We run on an ethos of teamwork and leadership and cohesion and collaboration. Our bylaws have 3 elected officials on this board, 2 of which have to come from this august body. And we're blessed to have Bill Haggis, the vice chair of the town of Siler City, as our vice chair. Laurie Bush, who's just joined us and I believe is an alternate to this body. And last but not least, Rebecca Salmon, a former chair of the Board of Delegates, who's been with us and does a truly fantastic job in all of her duties and responsibilities. Augmenting that leadership, we have representation from Steve Brantley, who's with us this evening from Orange County Economic Development. Bo Carson, formerly with RTRP and now the executive with Triangle North Executive Airport. Yvonne Kondoloff, who's an economist in Ag and Resource Economics at North Carolina State University. Pamela Senegal, the president of Piedmont Community College, which brings so much energy and enthusiasm to our deliberations. And finally, Michael Weissel, who's an attorney and formerly served as our chairman and often helps Renee and I with any legal issues that come to our attention that need resolution. And Renee, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Okay, next slide, Elena. So I just want to take a few minutes to introduce you to the various sites that we have in our zone. The green that you see in the map is our service area, and then the yellow dots represent the the different sites that we're going to introduce you to. So we currently have 11 sites in our FTZ. All 11 of those are activated, but they've not all had activity, at least not during 2020. Some of those are very new, as you will hear. So the first site is Site 1, which is World Trade Park. It is located in Raleigh and operated by Logistics. So this is designated as our permanent magnet site. What that means is it does not have a sunset provision. When sites come on board, if they're not activated and doing FTZ activity, the site will sunset after a 3 or 5 year period, depending on the type of site. Excuse me. But when we reorganized in 2012, we had the opportunity to designate a permanent magnet site, and we chose to designate Site 1, World Trade Park, as that site. Logistics has been involved in the FTZ program as long as I can remember, and at their location, they're able to provide services to a number of different companies, which is how a magnet site works. It allows the business to operate and bring in different companies to perform foreign trade zone services for them.
Then on Site 6, we have Glaxosmithkline, which has been here in the Triangle with us for over 40 years. They're located in Zebulon. It's a pharmaceutical operation with production authority at that installation.
Site 7 is Southern Lithoplate. They are located in Youngsville, and Southern Lithoplate is the manufacturing site. They make printing plates for the newspaper and magazine industry. They also have a sister FTZ site in Michigan. Unfortunately, both of those sites are in the process of deactivating and terminating their zone status. This is partially due to the pandemic, partially due to the reduced newspaper and magazine production, so their demand is decreased. So they are closing their facility located in Youngsville. They do have a different operation. They also make cardboard boxes in another facility. So with the pandemic, as you can imagine, that business is really, really booming because everybody's ordering now. So there are cardboard boxes everywhere. Hopefully most of those employees will be able to transfer to the new location. So hopefully no jobs lost, but we are going to lose them as one of our FTZ sites by the end of this fiscal year.
Site 8 is Tobacco Rag Processors, located in Wilson. It's a distribution site bringing tobacco products into their facility, then re-exporting over 90% of their product.
Okay. Site 9 is AW North Carolina. They're located in Creedmoor. It is a distribution site, and many of you, I'm sure, have heard of AWNC. They also have a facility in Durham, and they manufacture transmissions. You may actually remember, some of you may have been on the board when they presented their requests, but they make transmissions at their site in Durham. But the Creedmoor location, the FTZ portion, is for distribution only. They have not been, they are activated, but they have not had any activity, which is confusing if you're not in the FTZ world. It just means they can have activity. They've just not done any FTZ work this year. And that's through no fault of their own. They are going to be bringing transmissions into the US and then distributing them to an automotive plant in South Carolina. That automotive plant required AWNC to develop an FTZ site and activate it, but the automotive plant is not ready yet. So they're not ready to accept the product. They're working out some kinks, getting their software up and ready, but once the plant is ready to accept the product, AWNC will be distributing to the plant using the zone-to-zone transfer process that's available under FTZ.
Site 10 is Trans-Pacific Suppliers Alliance. It's one of our newest zone sites, established in 2020 and activated in February of this year. This company is an automobile parts distributor.
And then site 11 is Leibel Florsheim Company. And I believe it was just in January that they presented to the Triangle J board and the FTZ board, and got sponsorship of their application. So they are our newest site. It has been a whirlwind with them. Like I said, I think it was January that they started the process, the application submission, and they have received approval of their site. Their site has been activated. They've submitted a production notification, which is a separate application, to the USFTZ board. It's under review, but they have received what's called interim production authority, which allows them to start using the zone and conduct zone activity while they're waiting on the final approval. So they have to have customs consent to do that. So U.S. Customs and Border Protection has to support their request for interim production authority. So Leibel Florsheim, for those of you that weren't at that meeting, they make contrast media, which is a pharmaceutical product, and it's used in MRIs and other medical procedures. So it's kind of the stuff they inject so they can see whatever it is they're wanting to see when they do the MRIs.
Subzone 93C is Merck Sharp and Dome, located in Wilson. Pharmaceutical packaging facility. Using FTZ, they can import product into the zone while awaiting U.S. FDA new drug application approval. Once they receive that approval, they can start packaging rather than having to wait for the product to arrive. It affords them the competitive advantage that Renee alluded to.
So as a side note to that, the Pfizer plants that are making the vaccine for COVID-19 are FTZ sites. They do have zone status, and that is exactly what they use their zone status for, is the same as what Merck is doing in Wilson. So Subzone 93G is Revlon Consumer Products. They're located in Oxford. Most people are familiar with Revlon. They are a cosmetics manufacturer. They produce the bulk products. So they produce the makeup, the lipstick, the perfumes up in Oxford, and they bring in much of the packaging material, and they're able to combine those products and use FTZ status for that.
Subzone 93H is Merck's Durham plant in Trayburn Corporate Park. It's activated but has never had FTZ activity. They maintain the activation as they compete with other Merck facilities for production lines and want to have FTZ status for potential new uses, such as the infusion of over $100 million Biden administration to manufacture the COVID-19 vaccine produced by Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. And then finally, we have Subzone 93J, which is MAS Acme USA. So they're a bit unusual as well, as they are a subzone with and had 3 separate sites. So they had a site in Siler City. They have a site in Siler City, and they had 2 sites in Asheboro. They just recently deactivated one of those sites in Asheboro and are maintaining the FTZ status for the other 2 locations. But MAS Acme is a distribution facility. They chose to apply as a subzone in case they felt like there was a need to add production at a future point. But they do manufacture women's hosiery and other athletic apparel. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the next few slides are going to be some statistics about the operators compiled. This is compiled from the annual report that each site has to submit. Those annual reports were due to me on February 28th, and I put everything together, add my annual report to that, and submit it to the US FTZ board, and that is due by March 31st, thus the timing of our presentation tonight. As we go through this, I'll just remind you that in 2020, we only had 9 sites activated, but 2 of those sites didn't have any activity. So this is really the result of 7 sites that had activity during 2020. So first, we talk about foreign status merchandise that was received into the zone. So foreign status merchandise is product or components that is imported. So it's the imports that come into the FTZ. And the main countries of origin that are reported for 2020 were Belgium, China, the Dominican Republic, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Singapore, and Sri Lanka. So I will say that this list has expanded over previous years. And prior years, it was maybe 3, 4, or 5 countries that showed up as the main countries of origin. So it is a big expansion this year. The number of activated acres in our zone program is 176.66. As I said, there are 11 users currently, and those users employ 4,471 people within the activated area of the FTZ. So it may not be the total employees of that company, but it's the employees that actually work within the activated foreign trade zone area. And, we have a wide variety, as you could tell, of sites. So we have one site that has 3 employees, and then Revlon is our largest with 1,700 employees in the activated area. Next slide. As I said, this data is for 9 sites, and 2 of those didn't have any activity. So for the customs duties that were collected in 2020, it was a total of $11 million, almost $11.5 million. The largest collection, I guess, from one of the sites was almost $7 million. So we had one site that paid almost $7 million in customs duties out of that 11.5. So I will add that with the changes in tariffs that we've seen over 4 years, many of our sites have been impacted by that, lowering the amount of savings and increasing the amount of duty they're paying even from the foreign trade zones. So this number reflects those changes as well, changes in the tariff codes. The value of the shipment is a number that the USFTZ board looks at to show Congress every year what the program is doing. So each year the USFTZ board has to submit an annual report to Congress. So when they get my annual report by the end of the month, they'll get them from all 250 zones. They compile the information, they do a bunch of data analysis, and then submit a report to US Congress. So the value of shipments is trying to get at the true value of the zone program. So it includes the value of the merchandise that comes in, but it also includes the labor, the profit, any overhead that increases the value of the goods. So the total value of shipments in 2020 is $1.032 billion. it ranges from 2.93 million, 756 million. There are a lot of different numbers in the reports. But the total value of the exports from the zone, so this is the merchandise that goes back out of the country. It doesn't come in domestic status, it goes back out, is almost $140 million. And it's about 14% of the total value of the shipments. Next. And I think this is my last operator statistics slide, but this is the main categories of foreign merchandise that were received. So we talked about the countries that it comes from, and this is what they're actually, the sites are actually bringing in. These categories are based on the tariff code. So it's how they're classified when they come into the U.S. So you can see, I'm not going to read those to you, but you can see the different categories, and you can probably guess which sites are bringing in which of these products. Okay, next slide.
Thank you, Renee. This is an abridged version of our accomplishments over the last 2 years. We've continued to expand the zone in 15 county service area. Since 2019, we've added and activated 4 zone sites. We've alluded to Mass Acme USA in Siler City and Chatham County, as well as in Randolph County. They're based in Sri Lanka. AWNC, which Renee mentioned, they're out of Japan. Trans-Pacific Suppliers, and then Libel Flarsheim, which she alluded to, they're actually part of the Gerbe family from France. And speaking of France, last Wednesday, Renee and I were guest lecturers at Dr. Robert Azar's Schema Business School. We had about 20 students, and all of the students were not exclusively from France. Some were from Asia, from India and China. And Renee just did a fantastic job. We had dozens of questions from the students, and we had some practice doing that a couple of years ago at an agricultural marketing class. So very important. I think it's been alluded to by Jenny Korn in her excellent presentation about how important it is to engage our youth and realize that we are globally engaged, as has been mentioned about the Fujifilm Diasynth investment in Holly Springs, which is also domiciled in Tokyo. So our globe is becoming smaller. Renee has planned and presented at EDPNC's FTZ webinar with her counterparts this past summer. She's attended numerous Economic Developer Association meetings that Lawrence Bivens has hosted, so she's very prominently known throughout North Carolina, not just our service area, as someone who knows this business backwards and forwards, which is important. She's respected by her peers. She is often, I think, consulted by some of her colleagues about how to process applications. She's responded to numerous requests, even though COVID-19 has negatively impacted our business and our activity. That'll return. Renee's been elected as a board member of the North Carolina World Trade Association, with her term expiring next May. And she was also elected she represents North Carolina on the national board, the National Association of Foreign Trade Zones. And that's high cotton. I mean, she's fantastic, and her term expires September 2022. And then she's maintained the accredited zone specialist designation. So the attainment of credentials, as Jenny alluded to, that's important in business as well as in our education. So next slide, please, Elena. Our priorities for the coming year. We're going to develop a marketing video. Renee was able to secure an example, a model, if you will, from Delaware. It's about an 8-minute video. It does a very nice job of portraying and explaining the mechanics and the operation, the structure and process of foreign trade zones. We think we can actually emulate their fine example. We've been up to visit Halifax County, Virginia. We've presented to their elected officials as they've entertained expansion potential. They have a large ABB transformer installation manufacturer, does a lot of export import, as well as a Dollar General 1 million square foot distribution warehouse. So a lot of interest in our neighboring state. We're going to work with all the North Carolina counties to complete and submit expansion applications. There's a lot of interest in expanding here. And our Customs and Border Patrol staff are outstanding in their technical assistance and support service for us. We're going to recruit additional businesses to consider zone designation. If you think about it, our nation is looking at reshoring and onshoring critical industries like semiconductors, like pharmaceuticals. It's important for us to be ready, willing, and able when that time comes to realize that growth and development. It's all about jobs and capital investment. We have to look at our bylaws. We have to update our rates, tariff, and legal review board bylaws, and we'll do that. Renee's going to appoint a subcommittee to handle that and tackle that. Continue to participate in local economic development events, and there's a plethora of those. Develop and present educational sessions, which Renee does all the time. And last but not least, work with the new COG staff, the wonderful staff that Lee oversees, and just great working with Elena and Lindsay and all the whole team that Lee's put together. But in closing, there's one Renee Boyet, and she's just real special. So, but fortunately, she's going to be around for another 4 months from May, so we know where to find her. Back to you, Renee.
All right, next slide, please, Elena. So this is our last slide. Thank you, Tom, for helping me tonight. I wanted to show the TJCOG board the state of North Carolina and its coverage by foreign trade zone programs. So the state is served by 5 foreign trade zone programs. 4 of those are housed in North Carolina. So that's Charlotte, the Triad, ours, and then Southeast. And the 5th is the purple area in the eastern part of the state. And that zone is served by the Port of Virginia. So they come into North Carolina to provide support to businesses that our other zones cannot reach. So there's an adjacency requirement that's part of the regulations, and none of the 4 North Carolina zones can reach northeastern North Carolina. So the Port of Virginia came down to do that. So it's much like what Halifax County, Virginia is asking us to do, is to come across the border into Virginia and help them, because they are not adjacent to any of the other zones there. Have to be within a certain distance and drive time of the port of entry. So Halifax came to us a number of years ago. It kind of went quiet, and they are now working again to get FTZ status moving. So they will be coming back to us to do that. So that is the last slide. So I just want to say thank you again to Triangle J Board for the opportunity to present this information, and also to the FTZ 93 Board, and to both of you for your support of the FTZ program. It's a great program. It's I think it's one of those kind of best kept secrets. We keep trying to get the word out and and do outreach and different things. As I mentioned, I'll be back in May, and I am available to come to either virtually, maybe by that time we might be able to do some in-person meetings, but to talk with your economic development staff, or particular businesses in your communities that are interested in FTZ, or that you think may potentially have a need for a foreign trade zone. I know I'm getting scheduled for Fuquay Arena coming up when I get back in May, but anyone else, that's what we're here for. That's what part of the purpose of the program is, to get out there and introduce the community to the foreign trade zone program. I also want to say that, this FTZ board has worked very hard. 5 years ago, we had 6 sites. And as I mentioned, we have 11 sites today. It's going to drop down to 10, but we're going to get another one back in its place. So, it has really grown over the last 5 or 6 years. And based on the inquiries I've been getting in the last couple of months, and I think that it's going to increase. hope that at our May FTZ board meeting, we're going to have a new company presenting and making requests, which means I'll be bringing that to the Triangle J board soon thereafter. When the pandemic hit, I had 3 companies that were getting ready to pull the trigger on application process and get started, but that came to a screeching halt with the pandemic, as did lots of things. So I'm starting to reach out to those companies again, and hopefully they're going to revisit FTZ status as we start to return to normal. So Tom, or I know Bill's on the call. I think Steve may have dropped off, and Rebecca's not here. Lori's here. Anybody else have anything you want to add?
Well,
If not, questions, comments?
Thank you for the excellent presentation, Renee, as always. And thank you for all you have done. And we look forward to continue that working relationship in the May meeting. Next is our consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda: is adopt the resolution in recognition of Renee Boyet and her 24 years of service to Triangle J, and approving the minutes of the January meeting. Unless there's someone objects, we will handle both of those issues under the consent agenda. Is there any objection? Hearing none, all in favor of passing the consent agenda, there'll be a roll call vote.
Don, we will need a motion and a second to start.
Is there a motion to?
Mr. Chair, Kirk Smith, Lee County, move to approve the consent agenda.
Kathleen Ferguson.
Jennifer Robinson for a second.
Okay, Jennifer will be the second. Kirk will be the first. And so Renee, if you'll call the roll.
Okay, thank you. And again, I'm only going to call the names of those that indicated attendance at this meeting. And at the end, if anyone else has joined the meeting, please let me know and we will let you cast your vote. And in the case where there was a delegate and alternate present, I will only call the delegate's name. Wilma Laney.
Wilma Laney from Aberdeen will die.
Smith.
Bob Smith and Andrew, aye. You done good, Renee.
Thank you. Brett Gant. Brett, are you still with us? Mark Wilson. Gotcha. Donald Andrews.
Donald Andrews, aye.
Randy Haven O'Donnell.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, Carborough, aye, and congratulations, Renee.
Thank you very much. Jennifer Robinson.
Jennifer Robinson with Carrie, aye, and we're going to miss you, Renee.
Thank you. Jim Crawford.
Jim Crawford, Chatham, aye. Best wishes, Renee.
Thank you. Y'all are going to make me cry again. Ken Marshburn.
Yeah, Ken Marshburn, Garner, aye.
Kathleen Ferguson.
Aye, Kathleen Ferguson, Town of Hillsborough, and Renee, what can I say? You rock. And don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Sean McGrath.
Sean McGrath, down Holly Springs, aye. Congrats, Renee.
Thank you. Jessica Day.
Jessica Day, Nightdale, aye.
Kirk Smith.
Kirk Smith, Lee County, aye, and thank you, Renee.
Thank you. Steve Rao.
Aye. Thank you for everything as well.
Sally Green.
Aye, and congratulations, Renee. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Paula Baldwin.
Pittsburgh.
There you are, Pamela. I think you were muted.
Oh, Pamela Baldwin, Town of Pittsburgh, aye.
Thank you. Donald Rains.
Aye. Town of Princeton.
Ronnie Curran.
Ronnie Curran, aye. And thanks for all you've done, Renee. You've been excellent. I'm gonna miss you big time.
Thank you, Ronnie. Byron McAllister.
Byron McAllister, Town of Selma, aye.
Bill Haggis.
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. Bill Haggis, Town of Siler City. I and Renee, the FTZ board is so blessed to continue to have you for at least a little while longer. And you've done such a fabulous job. We're really going to miss you.
Thank you very much. Sig, I believe Sig had to leave the meeting. Chad Sari.
Chad Sari votes aye. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. David McGowan.
David McGowan, Wilson's Mills votes aye, and welcome to the retirement club, Renee.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else?
This is Heidi Carter, Durham County. Aye.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Renee. I'm sorry I didn't get to work with you more than 2.5 meetings.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Okay. The motion passes.
Thanks, Renee, for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Next on our agenda is the executive director's report, and we're going to try to accomplish most of this in the next 5 minutes or so. And the round table will probably not occur because time-wise we're past 8. So, Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few quick updates. I wanted to update you real quickly on our operations update at Triangle J with the improvement in the COVID statistics and also some of the guidance that we've seen from where we are with the city, in the city of Durham and with the state. We have begun allowing staff members, if they feel comfortable, to come into the office 1 day a week. I'd say we maybe have 40%, maybe 50% of the staff that are taking advantage of that. So they each are assigned a day of the week, and that is going well. We're also going to begin piloting some in-person meetings for groups or folks that want to use the large meeting room. Beginning April the 5th, which is Monday after Easter. Jenny Halsey on our staff will be managing that process. And so staff members that want to host a meeting, or if there's a member government that needs to use our room, they can contact Jenny. We're going to start out with 10 or less to see how that goes. And then we'll begin to probably begin to ramp up use of the office. But again, I just want to thank staff and everybody that's done such a great job with virtual work and meeting and all of that. And I feel very confident that they'll do just as good of a job as we begin to phase in some work on Emperor Boulevard. A couple just other really quick highlights about some of the work that's going on in the region, and I'll focus today just on work specifically with member governments. I was honored to be in Princeton on Saturday, where I helped facilitate the town's retreat. We were a couple of us, Elena and myself, were in Rollsville on Wednesday. Yesterday, interviewing potential candidates for their planning director position. We're managing that process on behalf of the town. Mayor Smith, I look forward to seeing you Friday and Saturday for the Anger town retreat. That's right. We'll see you soon. We are also working with the town of Cameron one of an employee that we're jointly working with Mid Carolina, Nancy Medlin, who used to be the deputy manager in Clayton, has a lot of finance experience. She's working for us, and she's actually gone to Cameron to assist them with some financial needs. And we're also contracting with former Wake County Deputy Manager Joe Durham to work on an operational assessment for the town of Cameron. So we're working in Moore County with Cameron. Wilson's Mills, we've just signed a contract to help them with their pay and class study. And then a comment about the budget. So at your next meeting, I'll be presenting the budget for next fiscal year. So we almost have the recommended budget sort of put together. So I feel very good about getting the budget out to you no later than April 15th, probably on April 15th, and then we'll present it to the board at your April meeting. So we'll look forward to that with you. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you. Hope everybody has a good night.
Thank you, Lee. Under the chairman's report, just a reminder of the nominating committee members that we'll need nomination for upcoming officers no later than our May meeting. And I'd like to challenge them to have it ready by April the 28th, which is our executive committee meeting. And for reminding the nominating committee members, Jim Crawford is chair, Rebecca Salmon, Ronnie Curran, Pam Baldwin, and Jennifer Robinson are on the nominating committee. So if you have any questions, just give me a call. I hope that every community is now distributing their vaccines, and we're going down to level 5 in some communities, and everyone stay healthy. And we are the roundtable. Unfortunately, we're running out of time based on trying to be out in 2 hours. So is there any additional business? This has been an excellent meeting, and I thank everyone that's been here tonight, and their contributions, and the program's been great. Miss you, Renee. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Kathleen Ferguson, Town of Hillsborough.
So moved.
I'll second.
That was Pamela Baldwin, I believe, that seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you very much. Enjoy the evening.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
All right. Let's see.
All right. See you soon. This is the Renee meeting.
Yeah, this is the